This is going to blow your mind, but the people of Iowa are generally pretty happy. And if you're moving to Iowa, you're probably curious as to why. Well, let's cover a few reasons why people living in Iowa are happy. Now, the first thing you're gonna notice when moving to Iowa is that most of the people here know their neighbors. Yeah, it's a fact. We do know our neighbors, and it is actually one of the keys as to why people of Iowa are generally on the happier side, which seems a little bit counterintuitive if you're coming from a city where you absolutely hate your neighbor. But here in Iowa, the small town communities are absolutely awesome, and it is because we know our neighbor. When I was growing up, I had a neighbor right across the street. She had our keys, she had our phone numbers, she could access our house at any time, access our cars at any time, and it was actually kind of a cool thing. But you don't always get that everywhere you go. In fact, when I moved to the Quad Cities, it really wasn't what I had right at first, but that was really on me because I wasn't going out and meeting my neighbors like I should have. And since then, I have went out and met my neighbors. In fact, when I went on vacation, I had my neighbor have my key, and she went over and actually picked up the Amazon packages that were coming to me while I was gone. And there's that trust factor there that you don't always get everywhere you go. And I personally love that fact that I can get to know my neighbors, I can trust them, and it just makes the community even closer than it already is. Another hack to being happy while living in Iowa is to really just understand that our winters are gonna be cold. And the reason I say that is if your expectations match what you think is gonna happen, generally you're gonna be a little bit happier. Yes, you're probably gonna complain about the cold if it's not something you're used to, but welcome to the family because all of us complain about the cold. No matter what our tolerance is for it, we are gonna complain about it as well. So if you move here, you become an Iowan, you gain the right to complain about the cold, but it doesn't mean that you have to let it make you unhappy. In fact, even if we are complaining about it, we're genuinely happy about it. It has the opportunity to give us a conversation with somebody we may not know. It's kind of a unique thing that you may not expect that would make people happy is to be able to complain about the cold weather here. But honestly, I think it is something that we can all get behind. When you share your misery with somebody else, you can be happy in knowing that somebody else has that misery, right? Another key factor into being happy while living in Iowa is really a decision you got to make before you move here. And that is around what kind of lifestyle are you wanting? A lot of people I talk to moving here, they want to have that country life, but they may not fully understand what that entails, and they may be looking more at a smaller city. So understand that going out into rural areas, into the small towns, it is gonna be a little bit different of a lifestyle than if you're living in a larger city, say like Davenport or the Quad Cities, because you're just not gonna have as many amenities. When I was growing up, my town was about 1,500 people, and there really wasn't a ton of stuff going on. You know, we had 2 gas stations. One of them had a Godfather's Pizza in it, which I got to work at when I was in high school, but that was really about it. Once in a while, we'll have a restaurant pop up in town, and usually it would be shutting its doors not too long after just because the population didn't support a full restaurant a lot of times. So if that's what you're looking for, you're gonna really, really like it. But if that's not what you're thinking, you're gonna wanna look at some of the cities around where the amenities are a little bit more accessible. So just know that going in, that if you're moving here, really dive into what kind of lifestyle you want, because if you move here and you move to the wrong type of lifestyle, you may feel a little bit more miserable than if you would have done your research up front and understood what that lifestyle is gonna look like before you make the decision to actually put roots down in wherever that is. So if you need to understand what that's like, I am available. My number is popping up down below. I've lived all over the state. I've lived in small towns, large towns, cities. So I understand each of these different lifestyles. And if you want to know what each one are like, well, you're gonna wanna give me a call. I'm the one that answers all those phone calls, texts, and emails. Another super great opportunity to become happy living in Iowa is really to get out into the outdoors. We have very clean air here. breathe in that outdoor air that maybe if you're living in a big city somewhere else, you're not going to get that opportunity. Go out, touch the grass, get out into the forest, really be a part of nature, and it's really going to help as far as how happy you are. I know personally, it helps me a ton to get out into the forest, take a hike, set up a hammock, just sit in the forest and be one with nature. It really provides a peace of mind to me, and it is a big key as to why I love living in Iowa, because it's pretty accessible anywhere you live in the state. So get out, enjoy those areas, because it's going to be a key to your happiness if you're living in Iowa. Another key reason as to why people are happy living in Iowa is being able to get involved in the community. It sounds like such a small thing, but it really can bring you a lot of joy if you really dive in. It's kind of like the whole neighbor thing where you get to know your neighbor, and it's a cool thing to have. But if you get involved in the community, it really can drive home the community aspect that Iowa is really known for. So how can you do that? Well, you can get involved in a nonprofit, which I love to do. I get involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters, Boys and Girls Club. I get involved into certain city committees. One in particular is the Dog Park Committee. I love them over there. It really gives me a good sense of community, but maybe those aren't what you're looking for. Maybe you want to look at some clubs like a Rotary Club or an Optimist Club, where they get out into the community and do awesome work as well. So whatever you're into, there's probably a group or a committee built around that, and I highly recommend you get involved in those, because it is going to make you a lot more happy to be a part of a community, no matter what it is. Now this next one is a little bit on the newer side for me personally, and it kind of goes along with getting involved with the community, but it's a little bit different in the aspect that it's around religion. Just recently, I proposed to my girlfriend, now fiance, and we are gonna get married. She is a devoted Catholic, and I think it's super important that we're on the same page when it comes to our religion when we get married. So I am just recently getting involved in the Catholic Church, taking the classes to do that, and I'm seeing the huge benefits of having that kind of community built around me. I think it's awesome, and I know going into the future that it's going to be a huge part of what I stand for. So I think it's super important if you're moving here and church or religion is a thing for you, go out and find those groups, go out and find those churches, because it will bring you a sense of peace when you're moving to Iowa, and there's plenty of options here. Now, where do most Iowans spend the most amount of their time? I've talked about community, I've talked about home. Well, just like all of us anywhere in the world, the majority of our time is probably spent at our jobs. So it's a huge piece of moving to Iowa that you want to have a fulfilling job. Now, I'm just speaking to the choir here, but you probably understand this already. Luckily for you, here in Iowa, we have a ton of different types of jobs. Yes, we have the agricultural jobs. You could be a farmer, you could be a rancher, you could be, I don't know, something else with ag, but Iowa's really grown up within itself and is offering a ton of other jobs. We have jobs in manufacturing, we have jobs in tech. Facebook, Microsoft is over there in Des Moines, and we have jobs in insurance. Yes, insurance is here in the state of Iowa. Specifically, a lot of it is in Des Moines itself. So find that fulfilling job, because it's going to be a big part of your life, really anywhere you move. But especially in Iowa, we have a lot of options for you, and I think you will be fulfilled if you find that right job for you. Now, I have lived all over the state, and maybe some of these things have really touched on something that you want to know. Well, if you have any specific questions, my number is popping up down below. I am the one that answers all those phone calls, texts, emails. So if you have a specific question or you just want to know more, hit me up. But if you just want to look at a video, well, I got one popping up right here.